Shalom, shalom, and welcome to our series covering the entire Sod of the Zohar, Parsha by Parsha, section by section. Today, we will be in section 11, called You Are My Partner. Bereshit. Rabbi Shimon opened the discussion with the verse, "And I have put my words in your mouth." Yeshayahu 51:16. How important is it for a person to study laboriously the Torah, day and night? Very important, because the Holy One, blessed be He, listens attentively to the voices of those who occupy themselves with the study of the Torah. And every word that receives a new interpretation by a person who delves into the study of the Torah creates a new firmament. Ve'asim Yirah B. Here, the word Yirah refers to the Sepher of Malchut, which is also called Fe, or mouth. Thus, the words that are in the mouth refer to the oral Torah. And it states that every person who engages in the words of the Torah, which refer to the oral Torah, creates a new firmament. Firmament refers to the 6 Sephirot of Zohar called a firmament, Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, and Yisod. And it was stated of the sages that there are 70 interpretations which correspond to Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yisod, and Malchut, by which is the numerical value of the word Sod, or secret, which is Samech 60, Vav 6, Dalet 4. We have already learned that at the moment when a novel interpretation in the Torah is presented by any person, that word ascends and is met before the Holy One, blessed be He, and the Holy One, blessed be He, receives this matter and kisses it. He also adorns it with 70 graven and inscribed crowns. And this new word of wisdom that is revealed is then set upon the head of the righteous who lives forever. Then it flies off and floats through 70,000 worlds until it reaches Atik Yomin, which is in the Sepher of Keter, and all the words of Atik Yomin are words of wisdom, comprising sublime and hidden mysteries. As it was stated before regarding these words in your mouth, which refers to the Torah, it rises up and creates a firmament. Zohar is created out of Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, and Yisod. Malchut is also included in that. This is the reason why there are 70 graven crowns. And as I just explained, with it, there are 70 interpretations of Torah, in which every single one of those interpretations receives one crown, by which the king is crowned with. Moreover, after having ascended through these 7 grades, which are the levels of Malchut, which is oral Torah, and Zohar, which is written Torah, it then ascends up into Keter, in which it receives 70,000 in the secret of Chokhmah. Because 1 through 10 is the level of Malchut, 10 through 100 refers to Yetzirah, the levels of 1,000 plus refer to Binah, and the grade of 10,000 refers to the Sepher of Chokhmah. There are 70,000 crowns here, because Keter is revealed in Chokhmah. This is the sod of the 7 years that were served with Lavan. For it is written, wisdom built a house with 7 pillars. Chokhmah, the grade of 10,000, built a house with 7 pillars. This is 7,000. Each one of them respectively have 10 Sephirot and 10 parts. Therefore, there are 70,000 worlds here. This is why it states in all of the words of Atik Yomin are words of wisdom. Furthermore, Atik Yomin also can be read as, in Aramaic, the end of the right. It can also be looked at as the ancient right, which refers to Chokhmah, the end of the right pillar. When this concealed matter of wisdom is revealed here in this world, as it ascends, it joins the words of Atik Yomin and goes up and down together with them. Then it enters 18 hidden worlds that neither has the eye seen Elohim besides you. Yeshayahu 64:4. Afterward, they leave there to float around before they are presented in full perfection to Atik Yomin. At this stage, Atik Yomin smells the odor of the matter, and he finds it most desirable. More desirable, in fact, than anything else. He then takes it and crowns it with 370,000 crowns. And the phrase, which reveals a new idea of the Torah, flies on high, going up and down before landing. Thus, a heaven is made out of it. In the Sephira is of Chokmah, which is attached to Atik Yomin, mainly the beard called Arik Einpin. This is the secret of the 18 hidden worlds. And this is also the secret of the 370,000 crowns. The 370,000 crowns is in the secret of the 370 lights of the face regarding Arik Einpin. There are a few ways of explaining this. There are 370 from the secret of Chokmah and Bina, 370 lights to the right and 370 lights to the left. There's also a secret of the lower spreading of 370, which comes in the secret of the Sepher of Chesed and Gevura, all within the Partsufim of Atzilut and Chokmah. We can see this as demonstrated here. We see here in the Sepher of Keter, we have Atik Yomin, and underneath it we have Arik Einpin. Arik Einpin is the secret of the beard and is attached to Atik Yomin. Though it is attributed to the Sephira of Keter, Kether, it is known, reveals itself in Chokmah and is one of the concealed heads. And all is in the secret of Kether. And all is in the secret of the right. And from every matter of wisdom, which is the Sephira of Chokmah, priorly alluded to, many heavens are made, because wisdom builds a house with 7 pillars, which is the secret of heaven, Zohar in Nukva, the lower 7 Sephirot. They stand in full perfection, being a complete tree in Partsufim, in front of Atik Yomin, who calls them new heavens. In other words, renewed heavens, because they are concealed by the hidden secrets of the sublime wisdom, the secrets of Chokmah. While all the other phrases and sayings of the Torah that are newly revealed, that do not belong to this aspect of sublime wisdom, stand before the Holy One, blessed be He, Zohar in Pin. These words of wisdom ascend and become the lands of the living. They then descend and are put as a crown upon a certain land. Thus all is renewed, and it becomes a new land by means of that phrase of the Torah that was freshly discovered. It says, from every matter of wisdom, heavens are made. Because it's written, wisdom, Chokmah, built a house with 7 pillars, Chesed, Gevura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yisod, and Malchut, established with Binah and filled with Da'as. Thus we learn that every heaven, referring to Zohar in Pin, is created from a matter of wisdom. But the lower interpretations, mainly that of the 70, refer to the 70 nations. The 70 nations, which are in the image of the lower 7 Sephirot and their 10 parts, each have an interpretation of the Torah. Every single one of their interpretations of the Torah are a different crown on the head of the king. But the matters of Atik Yomin and the secrets of true wisdom are much higher and more sublime, therefore they are called concealed. Thus a new land is created in which that form of the Torah is crowned, and land refers to Malchut, or oral Torah. Thus there are 70 versions of oral Torah corresponding to the 70 nations. On this subject it is written, for as the new heavens and the new earth which I will make shall remain before me, says Hashem, so shall your seed and your name remain. Yeshayahu 66:22. He does not say, I have made, but rather, I make, in the present tense, because he constantly makes new heavens and earth from the secrets and the new teachings of the Torah. And on this subject it is written, and I have put my words in your mouth, and I have covered you in the shadow of my hand, that I may plant heavens, and lay the foundations of the earth. Yeshayahu 51:16. He does not say the heavens, but rather heavens, without the definite article. This means that he is not encompassing the actual heavens, but the heavens that are made anew from the teachings and the utterances of the Torah. This further alludes to the fact that he encompasses the heavens, referring to heavens in the lower sense and not in the higher sense. Being in the lower sense, it refers to the 70 interpretations, which is the secret of the word sod. Again, as it was explained, sod means secret, samech is value 60, vav is value 6, and dalet is value 4. This, being the highest interpretation of Torah called sod, has a numerical value or gematria value of 70, alluding to this idea here. Rabbi Eliezer, which Eliezer alludes to Zur Einpin, which can then be translated as El Zur or to Zur, then asked, "What is the meaning of 'I have covered you in the shadow of my hand'?" He told him, when the Torah was given to Moshe, many tens of thousands of angels on high were about to burn him with the flames of their mouths. But the Holy One, blessed be He, protected him. So now, when the new explanation of the Torah is uttered, the saying rises up, is crowned, and then stands before the Holy One, blessed be He. And He guards that saying and shelters the person who said it, so that it may be known only to Him, and to stop the angels from envying Him until new heaven and earth are made from that saying. So it says, "I have covered you in the shadow of my hand, that I may plant heavens and lay the foundations of the earth." And from this we learn that everything which is hidden from the eye has a supernal advantage, as expressed in, "I have covered you in the shadow of my hand." But why should it be covered and hidden out of sight? So that it may receive the supernal advantage, as it says, "that I may plant heavens and lay the foundations of the earth," as we have learned. In other words, to make new heavens and an earth out of it. Now, in the highest sense, regarding the 7 sparks, which is far loftier than the contents of this video, Arik Einpin, which is abundant in chesed, comes from the spark of chesed, which is that aspect of the hand. This being in relation to the hands of Atik Yomin, and which is also associated with the beard. This being said, this is the secret of covering in the shadow of the hand. The angels that wish to speak against Moshe refer to the lower 7 sephirot. Each one of them have 10 parts, which create 70. Thus, there are 70 angelic princes, which rule over the 70 individual nations, each having an interpretation of Torah. The fire coming from the mouths refers to their versions of the interpretations, and so it is that these matters, highly concealed and secretive, ascend above them, mainly into the Sepher of Chokmah, as priorly explained. This, in relation to the highest part Sufim, is called the hand, and thus it is shadowed underneath it. And say to Zion, "You are my people." The phrase "and say to Zion" means to say to those gates and those worlds that are stated one by the other. Zion, referring to Mount Zion, is the secret of the Sepher of Malchut, again alluding to the oral Torah. Malchut is also called the stone, in which there are 7 holes in it. The word people is spelled Ayin Mem. Ayin has a numerical value of 70, and thus alludes to the 7 holes in the stone and their 10 respective parts, which it is known that Israel is assembled from. Thus, "You are my people," Ami Atah. Do not pronounce it Ami Atah, but rather Imi Etah. "You are with me," which means, "Be my partner, just as I have made the heavens and the earth with my words, as is written, by the word of Hashem the heavens were made," Tehillim 33:6. "So shall you, by your words of wisdom, make new heavens and earth. Happy are those who occupy themselves in the Torah." And even as Atik Yomin, which is in the secret of the Sepher of Chokmah, which is called wisdom, built a house, mainly the heavens and the earth, so too must we, using words of wisdom, walk in the ways of the Lord, creating heavens and establishing earth. Creating heavens from the words of that secret level. Establishing earth refers to the oral Torah. Blessed are those who study Torah. And so, You may say that the words of a new explanation by any person, even one who does not know what he is saying, have the same effect. Come and see. However, what happens when a person who is not familiar with the secrets of the Torah brings forth a new explanation of which he does not know the exact truth as he should? Under those circumstances, that word of the new explanation rises forward, and a perverse man, Mishle 16:29, a lying tongue, goes forth to grab it. He emerges from the cavern of the great abyss, leaps 500 parsangs to receive that word, then grabs it, returns with it to his female partner, and makes a false heaven out of it, which is called tohu, chaos. The Partsufim of man refers to Chesed, Gevurah, Tifres, Netzach, Hod, Yisod. Yisod is also called Lashon, the tongue. Thus, a perverse tongue refers to Yisod of the other side. He leaps 500 parsangs in the secret of the clipotic worlds, mainly meaning that there are 5 negative worlds. There is negative Asiya, negative Yetzirah, negative Bariya, negative Atzilut, and negative Yechidah. As a result of this, that negative man leaps and grabs from Malchut, which it is connected to, that saying. The perverse one then flies in that false heaven, traversing 6,000 parsangs in one bound. Again, it was stated that that perverse man is created out of the 6 Sephirot, Chesed, Gevurah, Tifres, Netzach, Hod, Yisod. This is also the secret of why he jumps 6,000 parsangs, ending at Yisod, called a lying tongue. And as soon as this false heaven is formed, a wife of harlotry emerges, seizes onto this false heaven, and joins it. The wife of harlotry alludes to the Sephirah of Malchut, which then attaches itself to that man which took that false heaven, and together they become united. She leaves to slay by the thousands and tens of thousands, because as long as she appends herself to this heaven, she has the authority and the ability to fly and traverse the whole world in an instant. Meaning that when a person makes a false interpretation of the Torah, one in which he does not fully understand, the man of perversity, which alludes to our spirit form, desire form, higher self, soul form, emotion form, and mental form, becomes united with the words of that interpretation. That word of interpretation then traverses that false heaven, mainly 6,000 parsangs in one leap, which refers to these lower forms, which are the lower interpretations, and thus empowers through that authority to lead people astray. And on this subject it is written, "Woe to them that draw iniquity with cords of vanity." Yeshayahu 5:18. Iniquity is related to the male, and sin, as it were, with a cart rope. What is sin? This is the female, namely the wife of harlotry. The gender is implied in the phrase, and sin, as it were, with a cart rope. He who sins draws iniquity, namely the male of the klippah, with these cords of vanity, and afterwards draws sin, as it were, with a cart rope. So he draws upon himself that female, who is called sin, as she grows strong and flies off to slay human beings. Therefore she has cast down many deadly wounded. Mishlei 7:26. Who has cast them down? That sin that slays human beings. And who causes all this? The student of the law, who did not earn the right to teach, but does so. So may the merciful one save us. And again, we look at what is the secret of sin. We see it is the secret of the female. This alludes to the oral Torah. And iniquity alludes to those houses of idolatry, which were called the 7 houses of idolatry. Accordingly, this refers to our spiritual interpretations, desire interpretations, our higher self interpretations, soul interpretations, emotional interpretations, mental interpretations, and physical interpretations, or peshat. Of this, it is written, do not be like the parrot, do not be like the mule, and which has no understanding, because this is not the mother's Torah, which is the secret of Binah, the Bariatic Torah, nor is it the secret of the father's precepts, which is the secret of all things relating to the Atik, but instead they are the interpretations of the forms and literal interpretation. The word mule there is Fei Resh Dalet, which alludes to Peshat, Remez, and Derosh, and we are commanded to not be like that. Rabbi Shimon said to all the friends, I beg of you all not to utter any words of the Torah, which you did not hear from a great tree, and did not learn properly, so that you may not be the cause of that wife of harlotry slaying multitudes of human beings without reason. They all answered, May the merciful one save us all. Come and see, the Holy One, blessed be He, created the world using the Torah. And this has already been explained in the verse, then I was by Him as a nursling, and I was daily all His delight. Mishlei 8:30. This applies to the Torah, with which the Holy One, blessed be He, amused Himself for 2,000 years before the creation of the world. He looked at the Torah once, twice, and thrice. The fourth time, He addressed them. Eventually, He used the Torah to teach people how not to be misled and how to misunderstand it. As it is written, then He saw and declared it. He established it and searched it out. He then said to man, Job 28:27-28, then He saw, this is once, declared it, this is twice, He established it, this is thrice, and searched it out, this is the fourth. Then He told them as it is written, and He said to man. The first time, second time, third time, and fourth time. The first time alludes to Sod. The second time alludes to Binah, which is the level of Derosh. The third time alludes to Yetzirah, which is the level of Remez. And the fourth time alludes to Malchut, which is the level of Peshat. So it is written, then He saw. Chokmah, which is the level of Sod, is the level of the eye, and here He saw signifies that. And declared it alludes to Binah, in which declaring is an aspect of hearing, and Binah is the level of the ears, which alludes to the interpretation level of Derosh. He established it, referring to the 7 pillars, and this is Yetzirah and Zerainpin, and searched it out. This is the level of Remez, and searched it out alludes to the level of Peshat. Then He said to man, alluding to all of these interpretations. And of course, saying to man is in the aspect of the mouth, which we learned is the level of Malchut. These also allude to the oral Torah, which is Malchut, the written Torah, which is Zerainpin, the mother's Torah, which is the Sepher of Binah, and the father's precepts, which is the secret of Chokmah, the Torah of Atzilut. And similarly, there is a Torah even higher, contained within the 22 letters, which is the highest of them all, which is the Torah of the ancient Holy One. So according to these 4 times, which allude to the 4 levels, Yod He Vav He, or steps expressed as then He saw it and declared it, He established it and searched it out, the Holy One created what He had created, and He did not accomplish His mission until He brought forth 4 words. Therefore it is written, in the beginning Elohim created the Bereshit 1:1, which contains 4 words. After that, the next word written is heaven. So these correspond to the 4 times that the Holy One, blessed be He, looked into the Torah before He brought His works into actuality. This is Bereshit, the first order, Bara, Bariah, Elohim, which in this case is referring to Zerainpin out of its place, and Et, which now here is being alluded to Asiya. This is Atzilut, Bariah, Yetzirah, and Asiya. Or this is also Peshat, Remez, Derosh, and Sod, as was explained. With that being said, this concludes section 11 of You Are My Partner. We learn from this section that new novel ideas and new insights into the secret wisdom of the Torah literally creates heavens and establish earth. We also learn from this place that so too are we to create heavens and establish earth. If you guys would like more videos like this, let me know. And if you'd like to support, I'll leave links to my Patreon down below. Sepher Yirah 3 was just published, and so was Sepher Yirah 2. And if you would like a copy of the very first book, the second book, or the third book, I will leave links to all three of them down below. With that being said, make sure to check out Restoration of the Breach TikTok if you do have one. And
Shalom, Selah.